Hey, YouTubers and friends, welcome to another Tuesday night Hangout Live with my good friends Toledo Jess and Mrs. Briggs of the Treasure Vixens. We have a really good guest tonight. You might have seen him on the History Channel, Legends of the Superstitions. So get your questions ready because here in a little while we'll be with Wayne Tuttle and you know the rest. So don't go away. We'll be right back. Hey, YouTubers and friends, thanks for joining us for another episode of Tuesday Night Hangout Live with Toledo Jess, Gano, the Treasure Vixens, and I. Right.
So we should bring our guests in. Bring goes, what the hell are these people talking
Yeah, I thought they were gonna come here and talk about my YouTube channel and my TV show and all that, my music and treasure, and here they are just talking about leaf springs.
talking scrap?
Let me pin him up and all right, everybody, let the beatings begin. Wayne, how are you tonight, and how's Arizona this evening?
Arizona is very cool, but it's not cold, of course. And doing pretty good. Found out I got everything hooked up, and then found out they didn't plug in the power cord, so I was almost out of power here. So I was, yeah, I got power again. Yeah, it's good help is hard to find, especially when it's your own.
I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah,
Definitely.
so I think everybody has their favorite places, and mine just happens to be a big mountain range.
Yeah.
And it's such a huge playground that'll never end.
Right.
Um, no one understands my whole when the television, the different groups will come to me and say, "Oh, we got this great show in New Mexico," and I had one offered up in Utah, which you guys mentioned Terry Carter early. I told them call Terry Carter. He's up that way. I'm
Right.
not interested because I don't think in my lifetime I'm going to be able to see everything in the superstitions, much less Arizona. So I'm fine. I traveled when I was younger. When they come to me, I try to say, can't you just fly here? Because there's more I want to do here. Yeah. I really don't want to go to Canada and film. I don't want to go to California and film in the studio. Just fly in here. Let's have a steak dinner and you can film me and then you can go away. Because I like what I'm doing here. So, and Frank always tries to point that out is why do they want you to do these other shows? Because maybe they find me entertaining. I'm good on camera or something. But my point of doing it is I'm just doing it about something I like. And if they give me subject matter I don't like or I care for or want me to get out of the state, I usually just tell them no. And people would say, "Well, that's stupid. You could have opportunities." But I'm thinking, it was kind of a sorry on their part to try to make me into an actor after I was 50
When
years
is it
old.
opportunity, and then when is it selling out?
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, but who cares about selling out? If you offer me enough money, I'll sell out. I got no pride there. There was a company came in with an idea for a show, and I don't know where they're booting it at. And I knew what the show was going to be about. I didn't really care for it much. They had a paranormal theme in the background to it, and I thought it was stupid. But I told them I'll do it for this much money because it would pay for my kids' college. So I had no qualms about it. I said, I will go. I will give you 110%. I will do everything. I could care less because it'll pay for my kids' college. But they tried to come back with a lower number. And I said, no, I told you I'll do it for this amount because I'll do it to pay my kids' college off because that's important. So it's not, to me, there's no such thing as a sellout. What is that? Everybody writes books and everybody has a different opinion on stuff and everybody can do their YouTube videos and they can hike around. And, I've seen there's 50 guys out there that climb up a ravine just by the side of the road and they put their little helmets on and they run around and they act like they're really doing something, or they talk about the bad spirits in the mountains. And it's all kind of ridiculous. To each their own. Is that selling out? Just kind of making a make-believe, like kind of BS kind of video? No, it's entertainment. So it's for entertainment's sake. I've been between Legends, Unexplained, Unexplored, did the Beyond Oak Island bit recently, and a bunch of other companies I've worked for stuff, and which will air here and there, and they'll use you. They'll interview for archive stuff for different shows. I've learned it's all the same. They're there to sell advertising on a television show by entertaining you to keep your butt in the seat to watch.
Right.
And they're going to pay me to say my own honest words that I can on there. So I know they're going to manipulate it. I know they're going to change things. They're going to change the information I've sat down and handed to them. They're going to rewrite. I know what they're going to do. I could not do it, not get a check, and not try to keep it straight as I possibly could. Or I can get involved, hope it turns out as good as I possibly hope, which I thought the Beyond Oak Island episode really came out well, and help steer that and get a paycheck for it. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
So because if it's not, it's just like saying when you're the boss and you say, I hate firing people. Well, if it isn't you, they're going to hire someone else to be the boss, and they're still going to fire people.
Right.
So you might as well get over it and just understand that's just part of when you sign up for the job, there's things you do and do not like. And in this case with television, there's stuff I do and do not like. And there's things within my control. And if it seems too stupid or silly, then I can just walk away, And if it seems like I'm interested and I kind of like the people, or in the case of Oak Island, regardless, if you're going to pay me to work with Prometheus Production, the Oak Island guys, William Shatner, all these other companies, I'm back. But I'm going to have to move the phone here in a second. But if you're going to pay me to work with that group to learn how they do things and how they run a hit TV show, I'm going to do it because you're going to pay me to teach me something. And that's going to reflect on me. I'm going to understand the business or certain aspects of the business even better. So, and that's one of the reasons to do it purely for me. If you want the need to know, I want to know why they do television the way they do. And I've learned that. It kind of ruins the experience of watching TV. But I also learned, okay, I understand why they do certain commercials. I know why they do certain things during TV shows. I know why they set things. I know why everything you watch, they're always saying each other's names, because anyone that tunes in at any given moment, they want them to become instantly familiar with the characters. Right. I understand these things because I sat around and talked to people on the set and sat there with the producers, directors, cameramen, everybody, and said, hey, why do we do this? Why is this? Why is that? I just didn't get a paycheck. I tried to get an education a little in it of understanding what it was about.
And that's one of the cool things that happens to us too. When we talk to people like you, we learn a little bit of that ourselves.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be moving us. We're going to move, but you can keep talking. We're moving, so I can find better outlet.
But I mean, when you talk about that stuff, that gives us a little more information. So, like, we know that a lot of times we can't talk about the show because it's still ongoing. We know that a lot of the way the show is produced is done from the cutting room and made to look certain ways. People are made to look certain ways. They got to have a bad guy, so they make a bad guy, Or
don't make the doofus or
right.
whatever.
Right. So we know that, and that's what we learned from you guys, talking to you guys, which is really cool. You pass that information on.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're probably not always happy. I was worried when we initially started doing it and doing the videos and talking about it. I thought, well, I'm never going to be on TV again. Because I'm kind of talking behind the scenes of why things happen the way they do, and trying to educate people to say, don't, the first thing they told me is don't read your hate mail. And I said, why? It doesn't bother me, because the guy that hates it's watching it too. Sometimes the guy that hates it watches it more than anybody else because he just wants to pick on you. But I learned from that, and I wanted to tell people is like, there's nothing personal about it. It's you're going in there and you're just working for somebody else. And you're doing things, and the guy that directs the thing, the guy that films it, doesn't have much of a hand in what's edited and what ends up as the finished product.
Right.
When we did Legends, we started in July, filmed for a week, then we came back for 6 weeks, and then we did probably a total over several weekends, 2 weeks more of pickups. So it's almost 9 weeks of filming.
Right.
9 weeks, 12, 14 hours a day, sun up to sundown and into the nights. And yet you got roughly about 5 hours. So the amount of filming and cameras and stuff going on in multiple locations at times is just mind-boggling. They literally can just create a number of different shows spun out of whatever they film. So no matter what we did, they could just keep redoing it and having us say different things and do different things and walk and do this and that. And then so much of it just disappears. And when I watch the show, I have a hard time explaining to people is I sometimes play off my memory more than what's on the TV show. And then they'll look at me blank, like, what are you talking about? Because my memory is, I remember everything before and after and for hours, and they're remembering a 3-minute segment they saw.
Right. Which didn't impress you at all, but your memories were something that you thought was more important.
Well, we tried, and I tried to do some stuff where I kind of talked out kind of what we did day-to-day filming. And my sons tried to get me to sit down maybe just to do a voice over it of the episodes. And I've never figured out how to give people, because when you film too, sometimes in anticipation of things you're going to do, or like a week or two later, they'll say, we didn't get you at this point saying this. Can you do this? There was some stuff that I did in my bathroom at home. Because they wanted the voiceovers. They didn't like what I said. So they'd say, can you say these lines in your bathroom into your phone and then send them to us? So by the time you film it, the story you're even in was confusing, because the first week you're skipping episode 1, 2, and 3, because you're talking about stuff that they literally pick up and say, well, we can put it over here later. You didn't know that at the time. They were just asking you questions. And when they ask you questions, there was towards the end of our filming, they gave me a day off, which meant they sat me in a chair, well, kind of on a bar stool. And I was standing there, be able to rest my butt against a bar stool. And for about 8 to 10 hours, I just answered questions. And that was it on camera. They just brought me sodas and food, and I just stood there, and they would ask me questions and I would talk. And most of that never made the air. So you can just imagine is like where my head's at. And it's clear now because I've seen the show a bit. But when it first came out, I was just thinking, where's this? Where's that? What happened? You know, because it was like
8 hours worth of work.
How did we magically transport? You know, it's like we had to go through the whole thing of loading up, getting in the truck, driving, and then they had to film us driving back and forth, and they had to film close-ups and do all this fancy stuff. And then they never used it. So I was just kind of blown of like, wow, you know, that was, you know, because you work it out, what they pay you in the end, you're making less than minimum wage. I mean, it just because the hours I remember there was nights we're standing in a hotel courtyard with cactuses behind us lit up doing interviews because the crew wants to get to dinner here soon, and it's like 9 o'clock at night. We're all just standing out there in the cold because it was by that point late October, and we're all shivering trying to do these interviews because we got to get them in. And nobody's thinking that because it's a union job, they only pay for the 2 meals, so you might get breakfast and lunch. So you've eaten 2 light meals all day. You've been out there for 16 hours on your feet talking, and that can just drain you in the desert. I mean, Woody was in bad shape sometimes from being out there, you know, because we were going through those extremes too. It was getting cooler at night, but it was still hot during the day. It was over 100 every day.
Yeah. Glamour's not always so glamorous, is it?